I think there are some things that come along with being married to a Nigerian and into a Nigerian family that none of us expected and none of us even thought about until we were actually in it. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tracy Blake Salami. I make mommy and lifestyle videos here on YouTube every week. And I am coming today just to chit chat with you all about a topic that's very important to me that I think I should share with all of my viewers, because I know that a lot of you find or come to my channel because of my discussions about my relationship with Nigeria, Nigerians, and being married to a Nigerian and having a baby who is half Nigerian. So I wanted to talk today about what happens when you marry into a Nigerian family. You all know that I love Nigeria and Nigerians and the culture, the good and the bad. I've accepted it all. And for those of you who watch my channel, you know I've traveled to Nigeria before, so I have gone more than once, and I understand a little bit more than the average American who's, you know, dealing with Nigerians, because I've been so acquainted with the country and the people and culture and all that there is, you know, with Nigeria. But I will be frank in this video, because I think the only way to really help all of my viewers is to be completely honest about some of these topics. And some of these may be a little sensitive and they may spark a conversation, which is perfectly fine with me. And if, as always, if you feel that I'm getting it wrong, set me straight in the comment section. And right now is the perfect time to subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed. If you're someone who's interested in American culture, Nigerian culture, and how they merge, mommy stuff, shopping, fashion, beauty, etc., legal diva stuff, then you would want to subscribe to this channel. So you can do that now. Anyway, so yeah, let's just get straight into it. When you are marrying to a Nigerian family, there's a lot that comes with it. There's expectations on both sides, whether you're American or if you're on the Nigerian side. People come into relationships because they want a companion and they want to be fulfilled. But oftentimes when you find your partner, you are also marrying into that culture. And for a lot of Americans, it's very difficult for some people to understand that there are other cultures out there that are valid and that deserve the same amount of respect that we expect people to give Americans. So it's important for you as an American woman marrying into a Nigerian family to try. You have to try to do what is customary in Nigerians' culture. It's very important for you to acknowledge and at least try to understand the culture, the history of the country and the people, because it's very hard to understand how things became the way they are without understanding the history. And it goes both ways. I won't say this throughout the video, But everything that I'm about to say goes both ways. As Nigerians marry into American culture, you definitely need to understand who it is that you're marrying. Not just that you're marrying an American, an Igbo, or someone who is different or foreign. It's just very important to understand who they are and put that person into the context of the society in which they grew up in. Very important. So the onus is on us all to try to understand one another. But with all that said, some of the things that I find to be very, very upsetting about marrying into a Nigerian family is the assumptions that Nigerians and Nigerian families make about American women. And I think I first noticed this in our wedding preparations. There was a level of misunderstanding and not really acknowledging the sophistication that often comes with being educated women of color. There are a lot of preconceived notions about what African American women are like and how to approach us and how to deal with us, accept us, and love us. And I find that oftentimes I have to be on the defense and defend who I am, who my people are in our culture. And I think my husband was nervous going into our marriage because there was a lot of talk in his own family, friends, loved ones, people who he associated with that seemed to think that because he was marrying an American woman, he needed to be on alert for a lot of different things that I can't even begin to itemize here. But they just cautioned him. And if something went awry or will go awry in our marriage, is a result of him marrying an American. And I loved our pastor in our premarital counseling session, and that he just nipped that in the bud like this. He said, you know, saying that a problem that you're having in your marriage or in your relationship is a result of a nationality is a weak argument. It's a cop-out. It's a way for you to easily place blame or identify potential issue when really that's not the real issue at hand. What you see is it's the easy way out. It's a way to say, oh, because you're Nigerian, oh, because you're American, or Kata, or Black American, oh, because whatever, you're Western, you're foreign, that's the reason why you do this. Or that's the reason why I have to say this or do that or behave in a certain way. And honestly, all of that is completely false. Men and women in relationships have conflict all the time, and they're completely human. It's often healthy. It's often something that's a part of the natural course of building relationships and entering into marital relations. So it's important as African American women marry into Nigerian culture to not use nationality as a way to say, oh, this is why we're having this problem. Sometimes, truthfully, it is a cultural difference, but it's not because you're different that we're having this problem. It's because you're not trying to get on the same level with the person that you're married to. Or maybe you're not trying to understand one another. And the same for the families. You don't really know who this person is, and that's why you're having this misunderstanding. It's not about where you were born. We are all human, and we all brought up in different ways, come from very different families and backgrounds and upbringings. Even twins who are born in the same household will behave differently from one another in a lot of instances, and their ways are not predictable. So in this instance, when you're marrying someone who's from a completely different continent, country, culture, tribe, whatever it is, you have to get on the same page as far as your level of understanding. And so when we were preparing for our wedding, many of the groomsmen who are dear friends of mine now, especially now that I'm married to my husband, they didn't know how to perceive or deal with the women who I had chosen as bridesmaids. And all the women who are or were bridesmaids in my wedding are dear friends I love to death. And some of them have been friends for many, many, many years. And some of them I met like during law school or undergrad. But whatever it is, all of my friends are A+, grade A1 status. And I think that a lot of Nigerians think of African American women as welfare queens or gold diggers, or women who don't have morals, or women who don't know right from wrong, who don't really have status. And I was so upset when I really got to understand some of these preconceived notions. And I just need to say, for the women in my wedding, all of my bridesmaids and my close friends who I deal with on a regular basis, we're all well educated. And that's the truth. There is every single person who was a bridesmaid in my party has at least a bachelor's degree, and all except one have an advanced degree. But everyone fully employed, independent, making moves, living their lives on their course to be whatever it is that they want to be in life, and are great contributors to this society. So to assume that the people that you will deal with in America, if they're African American women, are subpar is completely wrong. And it's so annoying that when you marry into a Nigerian family, you will oftentimes find yourself trying to defend who you are, your background, your family, your way of living, and you just have to be ready for it, because there are going to always be people who second guess what you are, who you are, and what you're capable of doing. Even if you have all these things, law degree, medical degree, accountant, doctor, whatever it is that you are, no matter who you come from, even if you don't have these degrees, your behavior will be scrutinized, and everything that goes awry is because perhaps you're just, substandard. You're African American. They don't expect much from you. And some people will flat out say that. They do not expect much of African American women. And this is an opportunity for you to engage in this teachable moment and help them understand who you are and where you come from, and why you are the queen that you are, and why you're not only worthy of being a part of this family, but their son has chosen you, and they've chosen you for a reason. And that commitment that you have with their son is between you and their son. And if you have any issues, or if they have any issues, then they should talk to your son or their son. And so I want to say that you have to be ready to defend who you are. They will expect you to really become a part of their family. And in some ways, they reel you in so much so that you almost lose who you are. And I find that in my marriage, I work so hard to defend who I am as an African American woman, raising a daughter who is half Nigerian and half American. It's very important for me for her to understand Yoruba and to understand Nigerian culture and to love it. But I feel the same way about my African American culture. Just because you marry into a Nigerian family doesn't mean that you should lose everything that you are or have built up, in the past 25, 30 years that you've been on this planet. So I think it's important for you, in no matter what the instance is, no matter if you are married American, to not forget who you are, and to stay true to who you are. And how do you do that? Well, you stay engaged. You stay engaged with your friends who you had before you got married. Just because you get married doesn't mean that you all of a sudden lose all of your friends. I know it's difficult to maintain relationship with your single friends, but my single friends are my closest friends, and they won't be single forever. And even if they will be single forever, it doesn't mean that I somehow lose some communication or relationship with them, or that my best friend is not my best friend anymore just because she's single. So it's very important for you to stay connected to who you are, your friends, your family, your culture. If you're used to going to the Essence Festival, go to the Essence Festival with the girls. Make sure you go see Beyonce if that's something that you did before you got married. Some of this stuff has nothing to do with marrying into the family. It has a lot to do with you learning who you are now that you're a married woman. But there's a certain part of the culture that kind of pulls you in, and you have to say, wait, hold up. I'm not going to sit here and read all the books by Nigerian American authors. I love Chimamanda, but I also need to read, that new whatever, Toni Morrison, Terry McMillan, whoever is out there writing great books. And yeah, you have to constantly work at maintaining your own culture and making sure that Nigerians who you come in contact with, who may have those negative preconceived notions, understand how valuable your culture is to society, to yourself, and to them. And this is what I mean. I'll give you another tidbit here. There's this idea that Nigerians have about success and efforts to succeed, and they can't seem to understand, and this is not just from Nigerians, it's from a lot of immigrants. They cannot seem to understand how it is that Black Americans have grown up in the country and not have been as successful as some of their white counterparts. They cannot seem to connect the difference. They don't understand the racial history and the social history until they've been here a while and they see what's happening, and then they understand that, okay, I have to put forth, twice as much of an effort, or women even more than that, to get half as far or just as far as a white counterpart. And they don't understand all of the psychological damage that is a result of it. And not everything that doesn't go well for Black Americans can be linked to injustice. It's a huge part of it, and it can't be ignored. And I think as we see more and more unarmed Black men be killed by police officers, and all the protests and things like that have gone on in this country, it's eye-opening, and it's again another teachable moment, and it helps people to understand more and more why certain things are the way they are. It's not always an excuse, but it's an explanation. And I also make it a point, whenever I have an opportunity to do so, to make sure my friends who are immigrants understand that they can come to this country and go to school and sit next to a white person in a classroom and learn from the same book, because people like my grandparents and great-grandparents and all those who came before them fought and died for that sort of equality. It's not that you came to this country and all of a sudden have all this liberty and opportunity, because honestly, as a person of color, most white Americans don't see anything different from an African and an African American, okay? So any advantage that you have in this country came as a result of African American men and women fighting in the struggle to afford you the opportunity to come here and then assimilate, or attempt to assimilate, into the educational system and then build wealth in this country. So it's very important to acknowledge that there's people who died so you can do what you're doing. And it's for all these reasons you have to remind yourselves, African American queens, how valuable you are as a woman. And I find that some of this negative talk, these preconceived notions, do a wear and tear on you, and they keep you in defense of who you are. And sometimes you have to step away and take care of yourself, just like you would under any other stressful circumstance. But the most important thing is for you to have a level of understanding with the person that you married and go from there. So this is just a little tidbit on what I think about some of the issues that African American women go through when they marry into a Nigerian family. Another thing that you will notice when you're married into a Nigerian family is sometimes the relationships or lack thereof with the Nigerian women can be very difficult to understand. I haven't had this experience so much. Most of the people that I meet, I usually fly above all the BS and I don't really pay attention to any tension that's happening in the room. Most people that I know, you either like me or you don't. And if you don't, I really don't have any relationships with you. But some women that I know who married into African families have had that sort of relationship where everything is just drama filled and negative. And to that, I have to say, you have to go where you're celebrated. You know, I wouldn't really interact with people who don't really appreciate who I am and what I bring to the family. And that's all I have to say about negative relationships. There are some relationships that you have with family members that make it very difficult to deal with in that way because they're family and you're going to see them time and time again. And I know that sometimes people will come to your husband or your spouse and try to say things to steer them in one way or in one direction and, you know, really undermine who you are as a spouse. Some of that is a cultural thing with gender roles and men and women in relationships and who makes decisions, and that's something for you and your spouse to discuss. Are you making decisions together, or are you allowing your husband to make all the decisions so that if someone comes to him with an issue and makes a suggestion for your family, your husband then has the final say? That's just an important conversation for you to have with your husband. But oftentimes I do hear stories about Nigerian family members who speak to spouses about their wives and make suggestions about what should and should not be done in their marital life, in their everyday life, in their future plans and goals. There was someone in our family, because I have to say our family, who suggested that we make a decision that I thought was illegal, and I just had to make it known that no, we don't operate that way. You may try to bend rules and do things that you feel are necessary for your family, but we're not playing those types of games. Not only because I'm an attorney, but because I'm a person of good moral character, and because I don't have to lie, steal, kill, or destroy people to get what I want. If the door doesn't open for you, it's not your door, okay? So just let that be what it is. What God has planned for you and your family is just for you. Any blessings that He has for you, they won't go to anyone else. What is due to you will come when the time is right. And that's how I feel about everything in life. So no, I'm not going to do anything questionable to get something that I don't think is really necessary for me to have until God says it's time for me to have it. And yeah, so that's that conversation. Okay, so more things to discuss on this topic. So when it comes to your wedding or wedding planning, and you're planning for your traditional wedding, let it go. I'm telling you now, you will save yourself stress, you will save yourself sleep, if you let the Nigerian family members, your mother-in-law, a sister, whoever it is that's trying to take over, let them take over on the traditional wedding. Pick your colors, pick your fabric, your ashoke, whatever it is that you're trying to do that you want to handle that, and then give everything to your Nigerian family. Let it go. Don't even try it. That's the way for you to deal with some of those people who want to control everything, who you don't want to mess up relations. Give that whole wedding. Give them the traditional wedding. And then focus on your white/American/traditional wedding on our end, if you understand what I'm saying. Work on your white wedding. Give them the Nigerian wedding. Pick your colors, pick your fabric, and let it go. It's very simple. If you try to do more than that, you're going to run into problems because they're going to accuse you of not being accommodating or understanding of their culture. They're going to say you did this and that wrong. You didn't pick the right foods. Let it go. Don't get involved. Stay focused on your white wedding. You will thank me later. Another thing you have to get ready for your husband to be loud. My husband knows that I'm recording right now, but anytime he has a conversation, and he's especially talking to someone in Nigeria, if you're at the engagement phase, you already know the network is bad. They're gonna have to scream really loud. The person's still not gonna hear them, but anything that you're doing on your end is gonna be disrupted because he has to make a phone call to Nigeria. Now, sometimes because they're so accustomed to that, your husband will then have these very, very loud conversations, even if the person is in the US. It's like they're so accustomed to speaking loud over the phone that they just do it anyway. So be ready for that. So that means if you are having a baby and the baby is sleeping, get ready for the baby to be woken up. At that point, you just leave the room. Leave him with the baby in the room to deal with the crying. That's how you deal with that. And then, yeah, you move on with life. So, another topic that I think is important is that you have to learn how to make Nigerian food. As a wife, as a girlfriend, as a fiance, I was so concerned about what my husband's going to eat because truthfully, he loves food. And most grown men do. They want to eat. And my husband doesn't like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. He may go to Subway every blue moon, but no, he wants home cooked food almost every day. Now, he is more, I would say, considerate, and he doesn't expect me to cook every night, but he definitely prefers home cooked food. So I struggled to really understand how to make these dishes, and some of them, I have some really funny stories of me trying to learn how to make different Nigerian dishes. One of the things that helped me is really following some of my favorite YouTubers, people who I've really learned to love here on YouTube who are Nigerian, have taught me some very basic dishes that are delicious, that taste fine past any Nigerian wife's food I've tasted. Don't go tell anybody I said that, but it's the truth. Some of my rice, my fried rice, Anyway, like I said, you need to try to understand the culture and accommodate your spouse. If your spouse loves home cooked food and they really, really want Nigerian food, you should try. There was once a time when my husband was afraid to come home because he didn't know what I was going to be doing in the kitchen that day. One day I made jollof rice and I put too many peppers in the stew, and it was beyond hot. And he tried to eat it and he ended up running to the restroom. And the next day he was so afraid because he didn't know like if I was going to try it again, or he didn't know what I was doing, and he was just afraid. And it was hilarious, but you know, I was really trying because we had gone to a mutual friend's house and the wife had made like a full course meal. I think it was like egusi with assorted meat and pounded yam. And the way my husband demolished his food, I was so embarrassed. It looked like he was malnourished and maybe his wife hadn't been cooking for him. And I was part jealous, part insecure, and just sad a little bit that my husband was devouring the food like that. But it's because he had missed his home cooked food. He had missed his soups. He had missed the stews. He missed the meat the way that it was made. And so the onus then was on me. You don't have to do this, but for me, I needed to at least try. And so I did. I started trying to make different stews, different meats. And I can say now that if we have someone coming over who's Nigerian, like an auntie or an aunt, I know how to go in the kitchen and have something ready by the time they arrive that's digestible. And I have my go-to things, and I have the things that I can play with a little bit, and then I have some things that I dare not touch. I'm not there yet, and you just have to be okay with that. And sometimes you just have to go in and make something that you know for sure that you can make, that's good and digestible for everyone, and keep it moving and not be so self-conscious about it. But if you're marrying this man and you know he likes Nigerian food, then sister, you gotta learn how to make something. You can't just be married into this family with no plans of how you're going to feed your husband. So another tip that I have for African American women who are marrying into a Nigerian family is to definitely travel to Nigeria. You should go to Nigeria before you marry. But if you can't, I understand sometimes it's just not possible. But I think it's very important to understand the world in which your husband may have grown up in, or his parents have grown up in, because I know that a lot of people are marrying Nigerians who were born and raised in the U.S. or have been in the U.S. pretty much their whole life, and they're by most people saying that they are Western, but they are still Nigerian, and there's some things that was a part of their upbringing that you should know and understand. And so my tips for you when you're traveling to Nigeria, there's a whole nother video that I would like to do on this later, but for the purpose of this conversation, I think it's important for you to try to travel there and accept the country for what it is. I know the first time I went, I actually cried. I think I have footage, and if I do, I'll try to include it in this video, but if you don't see it, it's because I couldn't find it or something to include it in the editing. But I think I cried when I touched the ground, because it was the first time that I had gone to the continent of Africa, and for most African Americans, it's a big deal because we know that we are certainly connected to the continent. We are people of African descent, and we don't know exactly where in the continent our ancestors came from, unless you do the new ancestry, DNA, whatever. Then yeah, you can learn a little bit about your background and get some understanding from that. But unless you do something like that, then you won't know. And I think it's important for you to go there, experience it, and really fall into a level of understanding with your spouse about what Nigeria is, and the culture, the food, the music, the people, the roads, the issues, the movies, the TV shows. Like, I feel like I, as a wife, am probably a little bit more extreme with my love for the country than my husband sometimes would even like. Like, I watch TV shows that are Nigerian based, like Jennifer. I love that show, and he thinks that I pick up on bad language by watching it, and bad ways and thoughts and understandings about Nigerians. But it's just one perspective of Nigeria. To go there and to be in the streets, to have suya, to visit VI, to go to Ikeja, to go to ShopRite, and really understand some of the stores, the clothes, the market, dealing with people on a business level. having to deal with bribing, getting off the plane and trying to get through the airport where you have all the hagglers trying to throw their phones in your face and charge you for using their phone, or charging you for trying to go somewhere. It's an experience, and it's certainly a part of who your spouse is. And I think it would be nice if you had the opportunity to go before you got married. So yeah. Okay, so another thing that you will definitely have to get ready for with marrying into a Nigerian family is to understand that people back home in Nigeria, because that's going to be your home now, they will call and text and ask for things quite frequently. So be ready for that. You and your husband should have a conversation about money anyway, in the context of your marriage, and even for people in your family, because you may have people in your family who ask to borrow money or need money for something. So you should have a way of dealing with money issues already with your husband, but you definitely need to get ready for your Nigerian family. If they are respectable people, they will go to your husband and not you, because that would just be completely out of line. And I don't think I've had anyone try that on my end, but you should definitely get ready to perhaps deal with that conversation with your husband. If you decide that you will be sending money back home, how much, to whom, how often, all of those things can really impact a marriage. And if you're not ready to do something like that, if you're very fiscally responsible or conservative, you may have a problem with that. So that's definitely a conversation that you will want to have. If you like what you saw today, please hit the like button, and also do not forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification so that you will get notified every single time I upload a new video. I will have more coming to you soon, some really exciting things happening in the next few months. And until next time, take care. Bye.